G'day guys, Shane here. What we're doing at the moment, well, we're no longer on lockdown, so we can get out and we can do some stuff. So I'm going to another location today to do some photography rather than just stay on the farm. I've been contacted by quite a few people, and I've been asked directly on a lot of social media posts in different photography groups about mobile phones as to why we're not doing things with an Android. And well, to be honest, I just don't have one. I shoot iPhone, I have an iPhone, I use an iPhone, so there's no reason for me to shoot Android. But people have asked for it, so I'll deliver that. We're going out tonight with a Samsung Galaxy S10. It's an older phone. It's about a year old, but we don't need to get hooked up on that sort of thing. I'll explain why in just a minute. So you think about all the different artists that have been through history. You think about, let's say, Leonardo da Vinci. Wonderful paintings that this fellow did. But whoever talks about the paintbrush that he used? No one talks about the paintbrush that he used. So why are we getting all wrapped around the axles about what phone that we use or what camera that we use? It doesn't really matter. I always tell people on the workshops that I run for regular photography with DSLRs and mirrorless cameras, and people ask me, Shane, what sort of camera should I buy? And I say, well, these days you really can't buy a bad camera. Like Canon make good cameras, Sony, Olympus, Nikon, Fuji, they all make good cameras. In fact, it's pretty hard to find a camera that's bad now. They're all very good. If you're looking for something specifically to do astrophotography, well, you probably want to look something more specific. So most cameras will do it, and in fact tonight where we're going to, the camera that I used to record most of the video, it's just an intermediate Canon. I'll shoot a photo with that as well and just compare. But tonight, like I said, we're going out with a Samsung Galaxy S10. It's about a year old. Does it matter? I'm going to say no. And I'm going to compare it to the iPhone 11 Pro. And the reason I'm doing that is because they're very similar cameras. The specs on these two cameras are very similar. We can get into the pixel peeping and look at just the nitty-gritty of each photo, and sure, we're going to find some differences. But for the general layman who's going to go out and try and photograph some stars with their phone, they're pretty bloody similar. So what we're doing now is we're going to the location that we were going to shoot, well, we are going to shoot it tonight. So when I was in the army 20 odd years ago, my regimental sergeant major of the battalion that I was in, he says to me, Mozzie, time spent on recon is seldom wasted. What that means is go and check things before you do it, and by you going to check things first, you're not going to waste your time. You're going to find that it's going to work or it's not going to work. In the army days, is this attack going to work this way or isn't it? Do we go ahead and try it or do we not? When it comes to astrophotography, I always go and check a location. I pull out photo pills, the app photo pills, and I'll link it down the bottom here. And I look at, is this subject that I'm going to shoot, this tractor, this tree, whatever it is going to shoot successfully with the galactic core of the Milky Way up behind it? And if it is, what time do I need to be here to do it? So that's what we're doing right now. We're almost there. We'll get into it. All right, guys, so this is the tree. This is the tree that I'm talking about. It's not much of a tree. It actually doesn't look that good at all. These bloody flies are hanging around. We've had a couple of frosts the last couple of nights and they're still hanging around. They'll be gone soon enough. We're getting closer to winter. But anyway, this tree here, it's an old oak tree. It was damaged in a fire. There was a house fire here some time ago. And we've cut it right back to the point where it might survive, it might not. But nonetheless, it'll make for a pretty cool photo with the Milky Way. Now, I think the Milky Way, the eastern side being over here now, behind us, the Milky Way will rise from there, like the galactic core that we want to take a photo of. And I'm hoping to get the photo with the galactic core up above the tree like that. So what I'll do, we'll open up photo pills and we'll go into the night AR mode in photo pills. And we'll put the tree up there, we'll turn the time around, you see the time at the top left hand corner there, and if I came here tonight from about 7 o'clock, between 7 and 8 o'clock, the Milky Way should be up behind the tree like that. I think that'll make a pretty cool photo. So we'll head off, we'll come back here tonight, like I said, about 7:30, something like that, and we'll get some photos. All right, see you then. All right guys, so we're out here now in front of the tree here. I'm looking up in the sky and I've got to tell you, there is not a cloud in the sky. It is so clear. We'll definitely get some good photos here tonight. Way out on the horizon a bit, and some of the neighbouring farms, they're doing some work at the moment at night, so there's some tractors running around with some pretty bright lights on. In the distance, I'm talking a few kilometres away, but it's that flat and the sky is that clear and the night is that clear, I can see them out there. So the stars are just everywhere. In fact, my wife and I, we used to get Japanese exchange students come over, and the last one that we had, she was from Kyoto, and she looked at all of the sort of photos that I was taking and putting them on my website and stuff before she came over. It was a way to kind of get to know who we were. And the very first night that she was here, hello Ayaka if you're watching, she walked out to out the back door of the house and she looked up in the sky and saw all the stars, and she squealed and squealed. She'd never seen anything like it, because in Kyoto, like most of Japan I guess, it's that densely populated that all the lights, they just ruin the night sky for anyone who wants to see it. So when she's come here and she has seen the lights, blown away, totally blown away. Tonight is just one of those nights that this is what we used to here. So it's pretty exciting. We've had it pretty cloudy the last few days, and we've still got a couple of hours before the moon comes up and spoils all the light. So what we're going to see here tonight is a really good representation of what the Samsung Galaxy S10 can do, and I'll throw the iPhone on there as well, because there is not a cloud in the sky. It's so clear, we should be able to get some good photos with the iPhone as well. I suspect that the Samsung is going to do better than the iPhone, but not as easily. Like I said before, with that exposure triangle, we need to work out a manual way for this phone to shoot it at night, to catch the galactic core. So what we'll do, we'll go into the camera, and this is where it sits by default in this sort of view here. Now what we want to do here is go into the more option here and select the Pro mode. Now to look somewhere where the ISO is going to sit nicely, we're going to look at the shutter speed, and we're going to look at the aperture. We want the aperture to be nice and wide to let in as much light into that sensor as we can. And we want the shutter speed to be nice and long as well. Now look, you can have all the pixel peeping folks who are going to look at these stars and go, the star trails on that. We're talking about getting photos out of a camera, out of a phone though. So you can go and spend your thousands of dollars on proper astrophotography equipment. We're getting this out of a phone, for crying out loud. So anyway, we'll go into the Pro mode, we'll go up to the ISO, and we'll put that back down to, let's say 600, 640 was what we're sitting at there, and we'll try this. The next button down is the shutter speed, and we'll put that all the way to 30 seconds. We may get some star trails with this, if it takes it like a regular camera does. The focusing here, no, we don't want that. Go back one. The next one down is focusing, is manual focus, and we'll put that all the way down here to infinity. That means it's going to focus on everything a few feet out from the camera and all the way out. So all the way up to the stars. So anything past probably a couple of 100 meters is going to be in focus on this. Well, the next one down is the white balance. We've already set it where we are there. That one's okay. And there's the exposure compensation. Now the tree is in the background here. I'm going to take a photo and we'll just see how that goes. So it's taking a photo right now. I'm hoping that the lights from my video here to show my face in the video is not going to light the tree up too much. I'm looking for a silhouette sort of a photo on this. It's about, it's almost halfway now, so it's a 30-second photo. This works in a similar way to the iPhone in that if you put it on a tripod here, you're going to get the best results. That's what I've got set up on right now. Same tripod I use for the iPhone stuff. We're almost done. And I'll go and preview that photo. And yeah, it's okay, but there's definitely light coming from these video lights. So what I'll do, I'll run that photo again and turn these lights off. So bear with me for a sec while I do that. All right, so we've set everything up now. I'm happy with the white balance and so forth. I've lowered it a little bit. It's not, or raised it a little bit from being so cold. I quite like where it is now. So I'm just going to take one more photo here with the same settings that we had before. All I've adjusted there is the white balance. This is still a 30-second photo. I fully expect to see some star trails on this a little bit. And that looks pretty bloody good. As an Apple man, I've got to say, it's a damn shame. The Samsung S10, it's a 12-month-old phone. Camera specs are reasonably similar. They're pretty close, but it kills it. It does a really good job in the night photography. One of the best bits of kit that you can bring along for night photography is when you help you compose the photo is a torch. So what we do with this, I'll shine the torch out to this tree here and you'll see on the screen recording that I'm doing where it's going to sit. So basically what I will do is I'll shine the torch onto the subject, move the camera on the tripod, or the phone on the tripod, to the point where I'm happy with it. I'm sitting here on a third right now, and the galactic core goes up to the side there. So that's how I set that's how I compose the photo, and it'll help you take that better shot so you're not changing it every single time to try and get the composition right. All right. So that's it. We'll throw the iPhone on and we'll see how the iPhone compares. I bet it doesn't do nearly as good as that. Here we go. So what I've done now is I've put the iPhone onto the tripod. We'll take exactly the same photo with the iPhone. The main benefits of each of them have their own thing. They're two different things. They're two different cameras. The Samsung you can set up a lot more manually, and you can see there it's taking a pretty bloody good photo. I'm impressed by that. The iPhone, you don't need to set it up manually. You just put it on a tripod, hit night mode, change it to 30 seconds because we're on a tripod. You don't need to set white balance. You don't need to set anything. You just take the shot. So like most Apple products, I like to tell people they just work. You don't need to muck around with them too much. So we'll take this photo and we'll see how it looks. Well, it's taken the photo. It was done easily. Just push the button and it did it for us. That's pretty good too. I think we're pretty spoiled here in north central Victoria with the skies that we have. This is pretty typical of what we can get when there's no cloud. There's virtually no light pollution here at all. You can see a little bit on some of those photos on the horizon, and that's those tractors that I was mentioning before that are working on a farm. It'd be a good 2 kilometres away, I guess. I can see them just out there on the horizon, and both cameras picked up that light pretty well, and it threw a little bit of light pollution in the air there. But on both phones, we can see the galactic core coming up there from behind the base of the tree, and they've both captured it pretty well. What I'm going to do also before I head back home tonight is I'll take a photo with this camera that I use for the recording of these videos. It's just a Canon intermediate sort of camera. I think it's a 750D or something like that. So it's certainly not known for its astrophotography capabilities, but I'll set one up anyway and I'll show it right now. Well guys, that was an interesting night last night. I like where the galactic core sits in the sky so early in the night at this time of the year, because I'm home and in front of the fireplace by about 8:30 at night, so it's pretty cool. Now later in the year we've got to get up a bit later or a bit earlier in the morning. Sometimes you need to get up at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning to go and do this. But what's the outcome really of last night? So I think we can all agree that both cameras take a pretty good photo for a phone. The phone sensor size on these things is as small as the pinky fingernail. You know, they're tiny compared to a full frame DSLR, but they still capture the night sky reasonably well. There are certainly some major differences between the two. They both take a reasonably good photo. One you've got to set up really manually, but I think it slightly nudges out the iPhone when it comes to those sorts of photos. And the iPhone, you can just put it on a tripod, push the start button, and it's going to take a good photo for you. So one's easier, it doesn't take quite as good photo. One, you've got a lot more manual work to do, and it'll take a better photo. The reward is better. So there's your conclusion. Now these photos, these were edited on the same way I did the 3-Minute Thursday. I think it was last week or the week before. So I'll put a link up here anyway, and you can see exactly how to do that. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. We do some pretty cool things here every Monday and every Thursday. If you've got anything that you want to know specifically about that Android phone and how we set it up, leave a comment down the bottom here. If we get enough comments, I will generally make another video out of it. This is how many of my videos come, is through the comments that you guys give us. So if you want something done, leave a comment down the bottom there and I'll cover it off for you in the future. All right, guys, see you next week.